Hello, random strangers. I'm Scruffy at Scruffy Tales, and you have just stumbled upon the Nerd Zone. And in this video, I will list the best armies of sci-fi. If I forget anyone or if you disagree with me, leave a comment and explain where on the list that army that you are thinking about, where that army fits in. All right, let's start this shit. First on the list, mobile infantry, starship troopers. Indoctrinated to believe they are superior, the mobile infantry relies on wave tactics to rush the enemy after powerful airstrikes have wiped out most resistance. The sheer amount of rifles that the mobile infantry sends into battle should be enough to suppress any enemy that has survived the airstrikes. But the mobile infantry are vulnerable to hostile countermeasures and are prone to panic if not everything goes according to plan. Next, we have the Trade Federation Battle Droid Army, Star Wars. A cheap fighting force that relies on numbers to overwhelm the enemy, a constant hail of blaster fire while steadily advancing despite any casualties taken, make this a fearsome enemy. And when you add their tanks and droid fighters into the mix, you quickly realize that this army is not something you sneer at. They have one massive weakness. They require a command and control center to keep the armies operational. Successfully launch a strike against such an HQ and entire armies shuts down. Next up, Starfleet Security Department, Star Trek. Starfleet security officers are a police and security force that have to step in as soldiers when everything else has failed. Their training is lacking as a result, but they are extremely motivated in defending starships and fellow Starfleet officers from harm. Catch them in a direct firefight and you will more than likely be able to force them to fall back due to the Federation refusing to suffer a heightened level of casualties. But what the security officers lack in battle readiness, they make up with being technically adept. Starfleet officers are renowned for their ability to adapt and reconfigure technology on the fly to help defeat any threat at any given time. But in the end, Starfleet's code of conduct is what makes this fighting force lacking, despite having the technology required to make Starfleet a military powerhouse in the realms of sci-fi. Moving on to Imperial Stormtroopers, Star Wars. Relying on numbers and shock tactics, Imperial Stormtroopers will fearlessly charge into combat. With their advanced weapons, they rarely need to worry about ever running out of ammunition, be it in the tight corridors of a starship or on vast plains assaulting trench lines. The stormtroopers will overwhelm the enemy with firepower and numbers. Any assault is preceded by devastating orbital bombardments or bomb runs by TIE bombers, and the assault itself is carried out by the unstoppable AT-AT walkers that will bring companies of stormtroopers into charging distance. Next on the list, we have Klingon warriors, Star Trek. Klingons have devastating firepower and are experts in close combat, and they enjoy a technological edge in the form of transporters and cloaking devices. In the blink of an eye, they can transport themselves into battle or appear out of nowhere with their ships to conduct lightning strikes. With deadly disruptor pistols and the terrifying butt-left blade, Klingons should really rank much higher on the list, but their inferior tactics and code of honor holds them back on the battlefield, forcing Klingons to time and time again make poor tactical and strategical decisions based on cultural preference instead of battlefield necessity. Colonial Marines, aliens. I'm ready, man. Check it out. I'm the ultimate badass, state of the badass art. You do not want to fuck with me. Check it out. Hey Ripley, don't worry. Me and my squad of ultimate badasses will protect you. Check it out. Independently targeting particle beam phalanx. Whap! Fry half a city with this puppy. We got tactical smart missiles, phase plasma pulse rifles, RPGs, we got sonic electronic ball breakers. We got nukes, we got knives, sharp sticks. All right, knock it off, Hudson. As powerful and capable of a force as the colonial marines are, they suffered from poor leadership doctrine, with a top-down approach to decision making. Officers see and hear everything every individual marine is experiencing, creating a massive information overload, slowing down decision making, and creating a situation where the commanding officer is overwhelmed by screams and seeing Marines dying and being unable to effectively communicate orders. Another massive drawback is the slow nature of their space travel technology and the need for hypersleep. But colonial marines excel in the coolness category beyond any other entry on this list, and that alone earns them a respectable spot above several other entries. And now, Ewoks, Star Wars. Ewoks are ferocious predators and hunters, as well as fearless warriors. They will not hesitate to kill and eat an enemy, or any captured prisoners for that matter. Relying on simple weapons like bow and arrows, as well as spears and clubs, they have no choice but to outsmart their foes with guerrilla tactics, hit-and-run attacks, and deadly ambushes. But don't be fooled. The Ewoks can build catapults and can engineer deadly traps where giant logs crush enemies and even armored vehicles. And some of them are armed with bolas that they throw with lethal accuracy, smashing helmets and crushing skulls with the flying rocks. Underestimate them at your own peril. Next on the list, Necromongers, Chronicles of Riddick. Fanatical warriors who would not hesitate to die for the greater cause. Relying on large numbers to overwhelm an enemy, their weapons are advanced enough to affect even the most heavily armored adversary, as their guns will lunge an opponent violently backwards. Suicide squads will protect deadly energy weapons to be deployed where they can cause the most damage to the enemy. And if you let them get close enough, with axes and knives they will cut you down with ease. Enjoying air superiority is part of their invasion plans. Stiff resistance on the ground will be swiftly dealt with and then mopped up by these fearless warriors. COG Commandos, Gears of War. COG Commandos are everything that colonial marines hope to be. Hard, tough, and badass, bringing all the hardware to deal with any threat. They have tanks and aircraft in support that bring huge guns to any firefight. And they rely on chainsaws attached to their rifles as bayonets when things become up close and personal. Not only that, they are renowned for moving tactically and relying on cover as they advance, making good tactical decisions even in the most dire of situations. Sardaukar, Dune. The Sardaukar outmatches all previous entries thanks to their effective shields, combined with the support from their ornithopters and their ability to rely on grav repulsors to drop in from above and even make great leaps into combat. Add to this their complete dedication to fighting to the death and being experts in sword fighting and hand-to-hand combat. When faced with truly tough opponents, they can always bring out their las guns that with tight energy beams slice through anything that the beam touches. And now, Fremen, Dune. Guerrilla tactics is what raises the Fremen above all previous entries, as the Fremen way of war, relying on ambushes and hit-and-run attacks, gives them an edge against the otherwise superior Klingon warriors and colonial marines who can rely on much more advanced technology. And within the Dune universe, the Fremen are even more capable fighters than the Sardaukar. And nearing the end, our next stop is Predator. Predator and the Aliens vs. Predator franchise. On the battlefield, the Predators would kill at will, unseen by the enemy. Shoulder cannons would deal with most targets, while enemy officers would be hunted down and killed by all manner of horrific close combat weapons. Enemy commanders would live in fear of constantly being hunted, and their soldiers would advance fully knowing that each step taken could be their last. That one step that would spring the deadly ambush that would get them all killed. Predator's stealth technology is what truly sets them apart from anyone else. And next we have the Borg, Star Trek. A fearsome opponent with shields that can adapt to incoming threats, making them extremely hard to kill. Their collective hive mind allows them to operate as a single entity, all Borg working towards achieving the same goal in the most efficient way possible. Relying on transporters, they can quickly and effectively position themselves on the battlefield and outmaneuver an enemy. And once they are close enough, they will infect enemy soldiers with nanobots, tiny machines that essentially brainwash the victim within seconds to become a mindless drone in the service of the Borg. And number 3 on the list, Terminators, the Terminator. Cold, calculating, feeling no pity and being without remorse. An army of Terminators will be next to unstoppable when armed with phased plasma rifles with a 40-watt range. Next to impossible to destroy, and even when severely damaged they would still try and achieve their set mission objectives. When disguised as humans, they could easily infiltrate enemy ranks to either gather intelligence or attack the enemy from within. Supported by powerful tanks and aircraft, the Skynet army of robots will not hesitate to rely on tactical nuclear weapons to soften up a target before going in with troops to clear out an enemy location. Number 2. Spartans, Halo. The Spartans of the Halo universe has everything you need from a sci-fi fighting force to make it the best of them all. Capable armor, very good weaponry, excellent vehicles and aircraft, genetically modified to perform beyond the abilities of any other threat. This is the ultimate sci-fi fighting force ever created, especially when you consider that the Spartans are a force for good, fighting to preserve humanity while also making the right choice when presented with tough decisions. And number 1 on the list, Adeptus Astartes, Warhammer 40K. Remember what I just said about the Spartans. Imagine if those guys were brainwashed to kill anything that remotely resembled a threat, to kill anything that hinted at treason, to kill anything that wasn't human or had a genetic defect of any kind. Imagine Spartans being religiously devoted to killing in the name of a god that also happens to be their father and inventor. Now give them a suit of armor so overpowered that you can fight demons with it, and arm each of them with a weapon capable of blowing up any living being with a single shot. And just for the hell of it, give them chainsaw swords to rip apart enemies in the most cruel and gruesome way imaginable. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Adeptus Astartes. The Space Marines of Warhammer 40k. The perfect fighting force out of all sci-fi settings. Because what the Astartes cannot kill themselves, their overpowered tanks can kill, and if they need more assistance, they can bring in dreadnoughts, war machines built around millennia-old Astartes that carry enough firepower to vanquish battalions of enemies. It does not matter if they face heretics, mutants, aliens, or even demons from hell. The Adeptus Astartes will fight, they will conquer, and they will slaughter anyone who stands in their way. That's all I have for you. That's my list of the best sci-fi armies around. Disagree? Leave a comment and tell me about a army I've forgotten, a faction I've forgotten, and put it in where you think it fits on the list. And who knows, maybe in the future I will make another list with your suggestions included. So yes, disagree, and if you just want to remind me of a faction or whatever, just leave a comment and we'll see what happens with it. So I'll see you in the next one. Bye.